Sorry, I was muted. Let me help you admit the students as well. Okay. Creo que ya admitimos a la mayoría. Entonces podemos dar inicio. Buenas tardes. Gracias a todos por conectarse el día de hoy. Em, bueno, en esta ocasión me acompaña Mariana Hernández, Education USA Advisor en Guatemala, y yo soy Laurenza Casa, Education USA Advisor en San Pedro Sula, Honduras. Y dentro de poco tendrán el placer de conocer un poco más a Catherine Chamensky, quien es la Admissions Recruiter de Kenessaw State University. Que para las personas que son la primera vez que que están con nosotros en este webinar y conociendo un poco más sobre Education USA, somos una red del Departamento de Estado de los Estados Unidos. Contamos con más de 400 centros a nivel mundial y nuestro objetivo es brindar información y orientación a los estudiantes que desean estudiar en Estados Unidos, ya sea para pregrado, posgrado, brindando información precisa, completa, actualizada y sobre todo gratuita para que puedan acceder y facilitar esta investigación de opciones para estudiar en Estados Unidos en específico. También, en caso de que ustedes deseen comenzar este proceso y acceder a una asesoría personalizada con un asesor de Education USA, pueden escanear este código para que puedan encontrar su centro de Education USA más cercano. Y dentro de poco, mediante avancemos con la presentación, también tendrán la oportunidad luego de escanear este código. En caso de que no lo puedan hacer en el momento, voy a dejar el espacio luego para que lo puedan escanear igualmente. ¿Cuáles son los servicios que brindamos como Education USA? Información sobre estudios de pregrado y posgrado, programas intensivos de idiomas también, sesiones informativas como estas y asesoramiento también personalizado, ya sea individual, grupal, presencial, virtual, totalmente gratuito, información sobre becas y financiamiento, ferias educativas y también talleres. Ahora bien, ¿cuáles son los pasos para poder aplicar a estudios universitarios o superiores en Estados Unidos? Nosotros recomendamos siempre comenzar este proceso 12 a 18 meses antes. El primer paso es buscar las opciones. En este caso es muy importante que puedan investigar qué institución es la que mejor, es la mejor para cada uno de los estudiantes, ya que hay universidades tanto públicas como privadas, también hay community college. Entonces es muy importante lograr identificar cuál es la institución ideal para cada estudiante y esto lo pueden hacer en acompañamiento con Education USA. También en el paso número 2, financiar tus estudios. Es muy importante que durante todo este proceso puedan hablar con sus padres y puedan comunicarles que desean estudiar en Estados Unidos y sobre todo en esta parte también es muy esencial la ayuda de los padres para poder elaborar un presupuesto. No solo considerar la parte de la inversión para comenzar los estudios, sino también la inversión para postular a las universidades en Estados Unidos, que involucra, luego lo vamos a ver en el paso número 3, que es preparar la aplicación. Preparar la aplicación, hay diferentes documentos que van a solicitar las universidades y todo va a depender de cada una de las universidades, por eso hay que investigar en la página oficial de cada una de estas universidades a las que desean aplicar, ya que ahí es donde pueden encontrar la información más confiable sobre los documentos, requisitos que deben de cumplir para poder aplicar. Por ejemplo, como les mencionaba en el paso número 2, de que hay diferentes inversiones que hay que realizar. Por ejemplo, la inversión para postular, que involucra exámenes que normalmente solicitan las universidades, como exámenes de inglés. Entonces, todo esto, esta preparación para aplicar, lo hacemos en el paso número 3. Entonces, muy importante lograr investigar con su universidad o las universidades a las que desean aplicar cuáles son los documentos que deben de presentar. Paso número 4, aplicar a visa estudiantil, es una visa F1. Vamos a aplicar a la visa estudiantil nada más cuando ya tengamos nosotros nuestra carta de aceptación de la universidad. Antes de eso, no podemos nosotros solicitar una visa de estudiante. Entonces, muy importante para que lo consideren, ¿verdad? Una vez tengamos nuestra aceptación en la universidad, es cuando vamos a proceder a solicitar la visa estudiantil. Y como paso número 5, prepararse para la partida. Es muy importante puedan asistir a una orientación con sus asesores de Education USA. Aquí vamos a preparar todo lo que es la documentación que deben de presentar, prepararlos todo para que ustedes puedan llegar a sus universidades de la manera más tranquila posible y que sepan todo el proceso que van a desempeñar luego de que partan a sus estudios universitarios en Estados Unidos. Entonces es muy importante que si ustedes se enteran de una orientación para esta partida de Estados Unidos puedan participar para que estén totalmente conscientes de todos los requisitos o documentos que deben de presentar y estar totalmente tranquilos para la hora de partir a sus estudios universitarios. Ahora bien, vamos a continuar con Catherine Shamensky para que pueda compartirles un poco más sobre lo que son becas estudiantiles en Estados Unidos, cuáles son este tipo de becas, el presupuesto también, cómo preparar este presupuesto. Sé que de repente puede ser difícil saber qué considerar para elaborar el presupuesto, entonces hoy vamos a definir vamos a lograr resolver esas dudas con Catherine Shamensky. Entonces, le voy a permitir a Catherine que pueda compartir su pantalla y podamos dar inicio a su presentación.
Okay, muchas gracias. Can you see my screen? Okay. Qué
Yes.
bueno. Okay. Hello everyone. Buenas tardes. Thank you so much for letting me join you today. I'm going to be talking to you guys about scholarships, and some budgeting information. Just a little bit about me. I do work with Kennesaw State University. Es una universidad in Georgia. And I work on the international admissions team. And so I'm here helping you, as students, explore how to study in the US. And this is one of the topics that we do talk about often. So ideally, today, you guys are going to be able to understand the process a little bit more clear and then find maybe a strategy or find ways to help fund studying in the US, going forward. So we're going to get started. También yo hablo español, so I can try to do a little bit of Spanglish for the presentation, but it is mostly in English today, okay? Voy a apagar mi cámara para puedes enfocar en la presentación también. Okay, so in this presentation, we'll start with different types of scholarships. What are scholarships? How do you obtain scholarships? We'll talk about finding funding opportunities and different opportunity funds and alternative funding sources. And then we'll briefly talk about athletic scholarships. And then we'll walk through a realistic student budget for somebody studying in the United States. And then finally, we'll connect everything to KSU so you can see how it applies as a real live example. And at the end, we'll leave time for questions, so you can always ask me questions during the chat or at the end of the presentation. And then before we discuss the scholarships, it's just important to understand what you're actually paying for when you're studying in the US. So just remember that tuition is one part of the total cost. And students must also plan for housing, meal plans, health insurance, books, some transportation, personal expenses, travel costs. And so one of the biggest mistakes that we see often is that students assume it's only the tuition. So it's really important to understand the full picture. So again, there are lots of different types of scholarships that are available to international students. So the first is going to be merit-based scholarships. So becas de sus notas or calificaciones. They are awarded based on academic performance, leadership, extracurricular activities, and sometimes your test scores. These are the most common scholarships available to international students. And then we have need-based scholarships. So those are going to be scholarships that are awarded based on a student's financial situation. And not all universities will offer need-based aid to international students, but some do, so it's important to ask. The scholarships will often require financial documentation like bank statements and sponsor letters. And then we do have department or major specific scholarships. So becas para su programa. And then they are funded typically by the colleges or the academic colleges within the university. So the engineering program, the business program, or computer science program, they would be available to you once you've enrolled and declared your major. And then there's also country-specific scholarships. Those are typically funded by the government, like embassies or private organizations that support students from certain regions. And that might be something like Education USA. Sometimes they provide scholarships. And then sometimes, finally, scholarships can also be institutional, and those are offered directly by a university, or they can be external, which means that they're offered by outside organizations. So it's important to understand these different categories to help you search for different scholarships more effectively. And scholarships are not about one single opportunity, it's about lots of opportunities. So the earlier you start, the more options you will have. And so a lot of times, um, this is going to be um, important notes just about scholarships and information. So, timing plays a major role in scholarship success. Many students will miss opportunities because they apply too late. So, earlier the better. For fall admission, many universities' scholarships will close between October and January. So, it's important that you start that process early. And then department scholarships are typically open between February and April. And then external scholarships vary widely, and some are open as early as 1 year before you plan to start. And so, because of this, students should begin researching scholarships at least 12 months before they plan to start university. And I strongly recommend tracking down deadlines in a spreadsheet, preparing essays early, and requesting recommendation letters well in advance. Sorry about that. So, how to fund education. It's important to understand that most international students do not rely on one single scholarship. They usually will use multiple different scholarships to help fund their studies in the United States. So that's also really important to consider. Some people will look for family support or partial scholarships. Or they might look for small external grants, or sometimes they'll even see about working on campus as an on campus opportunity. So, all of those different ways you can add all of those little scholarships together that might not completely pay for, one scholarship might not completely pay for your tuition, but by having multiple scholarships, you then will be able to pay for majority of tuition. So, that's also important. And then for those of you who don't know, grants will typically function the same way as scholarships, and that's where you receive money that does not have to be repaid, and that's different than a loan. So that's also something to consider. And so some common mistakes that people make is every year we see a couple of things. So sometimes students will apply too late. They might only search for full scholarships, so the big ones, and they ignore the small scholarships. They don't do any research, and sometimes they assume that one scholarship will cover everything. So the students who are most successful financially are always the ones who apply early, apply broadly to a lot of scholarships, and then stay organized. So a few things I strongly recommend again is researching scholarships early. So about 12 months before you plan to enroll, you want to track the deadlines so that you don't miss anything. You want to prepare your essays early. You want to ask for your recommendation letters well in advance so that your professors and teachers have time to write them. And then you want to remember that scholarships are competitive and preparation will give you an additional advantage. So it's really awesome that you get to start early and get that taken care of. And so, another type of funding that you might have is something called emergency funds. And so, emergency funds are typically small financial programs offered by universities. They are not full scholarships and they are not designed to pay for an entire degree. Instead, they exist to help students manage unexpected financial challenges so they can stay enrolled and continue studying. So, these funds are typically limited, they're usually competitive, and it's never guaranteed. Students usually have to apply, and then the different award scholarship amounts will depend on available funding and then the demonstrated need. So they're often used for immediate practical expenses like textbooks, maybe temporary housing, emergency costs, or technology needs. And the main idea behind emergency funds is to remove short-term barriers that might otherwise prevent a student from starting or continuing their education. So it's important to understand what emergency funds do not cover. They will not pay for your full tuition, they will not pay for your full housing or long-term educational costs. So they're meant to support students and not fully fund their education, but it is an additional resource, especially for our international students. And then what are other opportunities? So alternative funding. So many students might rely on these additional funding sources to help in addition to the traditional scholarships. So for most international students, it's normal and expected to pay a part of your tuition for U.S. education. And so one of the most common sources available is family sponsorship. So that might come from your parents, your relatives, family savings that are maybe set aside for education. And in many cases, that becomes a foundation of a student's financial plan. Some students might also receive employer sponsorship. And so that happens when a company agrees to support your education in exchange for returning to work with that company after graduation. And so that's more common for graduate students, so master's and PhD programs, but it can sometimes apply for situations to undergraduate students as well. And then government funding is another possibility for students. Some national or regional governments provide scholarships, loans, or sponsorships for students studying abroad, especially in fields that are important for their workforce development at home. So if you know that you need a lot of computer science majors at home, they might be able to sponsor you to obtain the information and then come back to work in your home country. And then education loans are also used by some international students. These may come from banks in the student's home country, or in some cases, the US lenders if the student has a cosigner. And loans require careful planning because they must be repaid, but sometimes they can help fill in some gaps that you might have. And then international students are also allowed to work on campus while studying. So those jobs might include working in dining halls, libraries, administrative offices like our office, or even in student centers. And so on-campus employment can help cover daily living expenses like your food, maybe some transportation and personal items. But again, it does not cover a major cost like for tuition or for housing. And then some honors programs that have additional scholarship or funding opportunities for students. So if you're a high achieving student with good grades and test scores, I would recommend researching honors programs at each university as well. It's important to understand that students usually, again, combine several of these sources, and it's really rare for one source to cover everything. So instead, funding often comes from a mix of family support, scholarships, savings, small grants, and work opportunities. And so when students approach funding as a combination of resources rather than one single solution, the process becomes more realistic and a little bit more manageable. All right, and so athletic scholarships. So athletic scholarships in the United States are primarily governed by the NCAA, which stands for the National Collegiate Athletic Association. So the NCAA sets the rules for college athletes, including eligibility requirements, recruiting guidelines, and scholarship limits. There are three NCAA divisions, but most scholarships conversations will be in the areas of the Division One and the Division Two. So Division One schools typically have a larger athletic program, they have bigger budgets and more competitive teams, and those schools will often offer more athletic scholarship funding, but competition for those scholarships is going to be extremely high. And then Division Two schools will also offer athletic scholarships, but they usually have smaller budgets and fewer full scholarships are available. So the Division Two often allows for a balance between strong athletics and academics, and many international students will find this level of sports to be a good fit for them. And then Division Three schools do not offer athletic scholarships, although they may offer academic or merit scholarships. So in order to receive athletic scholarships, students must meet both the athletic and academic eligibility requirements. And this includes submitting academic transcripts, meeting minimum GPA standards, and in some cases, submitting standardized test scores. So students may also need to register with the NCAA eligibility to confirm that their academic background meets the NCAA standards. The recruitment process is also important to understand. So, unlike academic scholarships, athletic scholarships require direct communication with coaches. So, it's students' responsibility for reaching out to coaches, sharing your highlight videos, sharing your statistics, and sharing your competition records. And then coaches usually will evaluate your performance and determine whether to offer recruitment support. It's also important to understand that athletic scholarships are not always full scholarships. Many of them are always or can be partial scholarships that cover only a portion of tuition or housing. And because of this, student athletes should still build a complete financial plan beyond athletics alone. And if you are serious about competing in college athletics, early communication, having strong academics and grades, and then reaching out to your coaches early is also super important. So that's something that we can kind of help with, but really you have to go through the coach. So students will often ask, where do you start, right? So first, it's always important to start with the university website, the admissions, financial aid, and academic departments. And then you want to look externally at government programs, so things like Education USA, other foundations, and then scholarship databases. And then a helpful strategy is searching online using keywords like international student scholarship, plus your major, plus your country. And then make scholarship research part of your weekly routine during your final year in high school. And then please keep in mind that there are scams. So be sure that the organization you are using is legitimate and real before you submit any personal information. And at no point should you ever have to pay money to gain access to scholarship information. So to combat this problem, we actually offer a portal that's called the Scholarship Universe Portal, where students that are accepted to KSU can apply to both internal and external scholarships that we've looked into to make sure that they are already real and legit. And we offer this as a one-time application, so you only have to submit one application to see all of the scholarships that we offer here at KSU. But again, you do have to be accepted to have access to that. So now we're going to talk about building the budget. So you should calculate tuition and fees, housing and meal plans, insurance, books, transportation, personal expenses, and travel costs. So you want to plan for the entire academic year, not just for one semester. And you also might want to consider your exchange rate because they change and they can have unexpected expenses. So a strong budget here using these items gives you confidence and clarity when you're looking at schools. And when students create a sample budget, they often forget certain costs like things, transportation and insurance because you don't think about it. But having it already planned out will help prepare you for later. So again, I wanted to give you a real-time example of what this looks like. So if we're looking at Kennesaw State University, we have one of these on our website for you to take a look at. A lot of colleges do. So at KSU, student budgets for tuition and fees, they have housing on either campus, we have meal plans, we have health insurance, we have books and personal expenses. Again, we do offer institutional scholarships, department scholarships, payment plans, and on-campus employment. And then most of our international students will again combine family funding with partial scholarships and then having strong budgeting skills. So you might ask, why can KSU be a smart financial choice? So KSU is a public university, which often means that our tuition prices are really competitive compared to other many private institutions that might be more expensive. We're also located near Atlanta, which is in the state of Georgia, which offers internship and career opportunities. We have two campuses and strong academic programs in business, engineering, computing, health sciences, and more. So again, this is a great example if you want to look on the left side. Here, this is going to be the price of an average in-state tuition student. And then right here, this is the average cost of out-of-state tuition students. So this is again an average cost. It's not necessarily what you will spend, but it could be something that you spend. So it's not, you might not spend as much on personal expenses as the next person, or maybe you don't spend as much on housing because you find a good deal. These are again just examples of things that you should be budgeting for and the average prices of each student. And so, like I Kennesaw State offers the scholarships and financial aid opportunities for all eligible students. I mentioned the Scholarship Universe portal earlier, but once again, that's a portal for accepted students to use once, which with one application to apply to all of our internal scholarships. And there are external scholarships offered as well within this portal. And so, one important option is also going to be our out-of-state tuition waiver. And that's really for F1 students, so students like you coming from another country. And it's if you qualify as an international student, you would then be granted to pay in-state tuition instead of the higher international tuition rates. So that could reduce the cost from again that 9,000 number to you paying the $3,000 per semester. So it's really important that this is a great opportunity for you to make studying at KSU, or other colleges might have something similar, but this is something that can make it more affordable. So I will quickly, I don't again want to take too much time, but this is our application website right now. We are going to be changing the process where it will actually be an automatic process. So if you apply and you meet the criteria listed on our website, then we will automatically grant you that waiver. So that's also really important for our students in the process. And so I do want to talk to you guys a little bit about KSU specifically. So these are some of our fun facts that help you gain a sense of who we are. And choosing a university is not only about the cost, but it's also about value and support and long-term outcomes. So KSU is the third largest public university in Georgia. We have over 50,000 students enrolled. So we do have a lot of students, but we are incredibly diverse. We do have 700 over 700 international students that represent over 127 different countries. So there's lots of people that are international students, and you'll definitely be able to find a community and make friends. And if you like getting involved, we also have over 300 student organizations. So those are anything from cultural clubs to fraternities and sororities to recreational sports. And then, like I mentioned, we are a D1 school, so we do offer D1 sports. We have 18 NCAA sports for our students. Okay. And then those are going to be things like basketball, baseball, football, and women's soccer. And then we do offer over 190-degree programs. And so that's something that, again, we have lots of different options for you as a student, which is also great for having different programs. And then we do have a fun fact that I love. We have a dining hall that is actually nationally ranked, which means that it's really good food. And the food, we have a specific spot in our dining hall for international cuisine. So students can bring recipes from home, and then we can help make those recipes here on campus so that you kind of get a taste of home that you might be missing, right? So that's also something that we have. And then Kennesaw State University. So we do have two campuses. Again, one's in Kennesaw, Georgia, and one's in Marietta, Georgia. Um, we are located in the state of Georgia. So if you don't know where that is, it's on the east coast of the US. It's about 30 or 40 minutes north of Atlanta, the city of Atlanta. And so because of that, we really like our location. It allows you to be close to downtown Atlanta, where you can work for lots of the big companies like Home Depot, World of Coke, Delta. We're also 45 minutes away from Hartsfield-Jackson Airport, which is one of the busiest airports in the world and super convenient for international flights. And then if you enjoy things like sports or concerts and festivals, Atlanta has that all. So you can go to Truist Park, which is home of the Atlanta Braves, so Los Bravos, or we have Atlanta United, which is our football team. So you can go see all of those things in Atlanta. All right, and then we do have a short, quick video. I'm going to reshare my screen because I want to make sure that you guys can hear it. All right, and let me know if you guys can hear it once I start playing. Thumbs up in the chat or
everyone, to Kenessaw State University, one university uniquely situated on two campuses located in Kennesaw and Marietta, Georgia. Just a short drive north of Atlanta, KSU students benefit from having access to Fortune 500 companies, a bustling film and entertainment industry, and a metro area that is now known as the tech mecca of the East. I'm your host, Alex Boylan, and we're here to take a look at these beautiful, diverse campuses and meet real students attending KSU right now. This outstanding university is a leading institution in innovative teaching and learning opportunities. Kennesaw State is the third largest university in the state of Georgia, with more than 43,000 students, offering over 150 degree programs and more than 125,000 alumni worldwide. Absolutely amazing. As a Carnegie-recognized doctoral research institution, KSU is part of an elite group of U.S. colleges and universities. KSU is also one of the largest suburban research universities in the entire country. This university, proudly known for its vibrant campus culture, diverse population, strong global relationships, and a spirit that drives students forward to succeed. Welcome to Kennesaw State University. This is the College Tour. Streaming now on a screen near you.
Okay. Okay. I want to exit out of the presentation. Okay. Dame un momento, por favor. Okay. Okay, lo siento. Technical difficulties. All right. So we are going to continue here. All right. Thank you. Okay, y vamos a continuar en español si estás bien. Aquí tenemos los programas que está en Kennesaw State University. So, tenemos dos campus. Tenemos un campus en Kennesaw y ofrece la Badwell College of Education. So, educación primaria, media y secundaria si quieres estudiar cómo hacer una maestra o maestro. Tenemos the Coles College of Business y esto es contabilidad, finanzas y administración. Y un dato divertido es la Escuela de Negocios tiene una acreditación internacional, por lo que su título es reconocido globalmente. Tenemos Facultad de Humanidades, so Humanities, Rada College of Humanities and Social Sciences. Aquí tenemos psicología, ciencias políticas, lenguas extranjeras y más. También tenemos la Facultad de Ciencias y Matemáticas, tenemos la Facultad de las Artes como arte, danza, teatro y tenemos Facultad de Salud y Servicios aquí como enfermería, ciencias del ejercicio y salud pública. Y en el Marietta Campus tenemos más programas de STEM. So, tenemos la Facultad de Arquitectura y Gestión de la Construcción. Tenemos las facultades de Computación e Ingeniería de Software, como ciencias de la computación, IT, diseño de videojuegos. También tenemos la Facultad de Ingeniería y Tecnología. Aquí tenemos ingeniería mecánica, civil, eléctrica, industrial y hemos añadido un ingeniería aeroespacial. También es nuevo, un programa nuevo. Y también tenemos la Facultad de Ciencias y Matemáticas en esta campus. Ok. Y tenemos los requisitos de admisiones. Necesitamos su solicitud en Common App y después de su solicitud comenzaremos a pedir documentos adicionales y esos documentos varían según el tipo de estudiante y es importante que revisar su estatus de aplicación diariamente. Necesitamos su solicitud de Common App, necesitamos sus transcripciones, so your official high school transcripts, necesitamos su evaluación de documento por documento, necesitamos sus puntajes oficiales de SAT y o SAT, so SAT es más popular, y necesitamos un examen de dominio del inglés, your English Proficiency Exam. Y también tenemos extracurriculares y programas afuera del aula que son muy importantes de los estudiantes. Tenemos nuestra oficina de los estudiantes internacionales, our International Student and Scholar Services. Y esta oficina es muy importante de los estudiantes internacionales porque ayudan con el proceso de su visa, ayudan con el proceso de su, si quieren trabajar en campus. Tenemos también con ayuda si tienen preguntas de su I-20 y también mucha gente tiene que trabaja en esta oficina, también put on like clubs or extracurriculars. Hay eventos entre la oficina de los estudiantes internacionales que pueden conocer otros estudiantes también. Y también the Honors College. The Honors College es un programa de los estudiantes que tienen notas muy buenas. Y para estudiantes motivados, yo hablé sobre programas de honors un poquito, pero aquí incluyendo cursos de honores, seminarios y oportunidades de investigación. Y tienen beneficios como inscripción prioritaria, asesoría especializada, oportunidades de becas extras y también acceso a espacios exclusivos en el campus. So it's a great opportunity for our students to have additional scholarships, additional money, and then additional opportunities during their time at KSU. And then también tenemos Double Owl Pathways. Nuestros Double Owl Pathways les permiten obtener su licenciatura y maestría más rápido que los dos separados. Y haz ambos a la vez y con la misma matrícula y es una oportunidad de los estudiantes de KSU para obtener dos cosas en un colegio. And tools for success. Esta es muy importante de los estudiantes. Sí, es importante que sabes que no necesitan hacer a todo a su mismo. It's important that you know that you don't have to do it by yourself. So use college search websites, virtual tours, webinars como así, college fairs to learn more. Ask questions, pregunta a nuestro personas en la oficina de admisiones. Ask admissions counselors for help because we're here to help you. The more research you do, the more confident you'll feel in finding a college that truly fits your goals and needs. And here at KSU, we also offer one-on-one appointments. So si quieren una cita conmigo en español, solamente en español, pueden hacerlo. So we have one-on-one sessions with our counselors. But overall, the best advice is to start early, apply broadly, stay organized, be realistic. And just understand that studying in the US is an investment to your future and helps you plan ahead for that investment to make it possible. So, si tienes preguntas, ahorita puedes preguntar a mí si tiene. Gracias a ustedes. Thank you so much for letting me come and chat with you. I know that was a lot of information. If you guys have any questions, feel free to put them in the chat, or if you would like to unmute, I'm okay with that. Or if you want to ask them later, that's okay too. Whatever you guys would like.
Thank you, Catherine. We do have some questions that we received previously on the registration, so we can start
No
with that, and then they get less shy. They can send their questions on the chat. The first one says, does applying early decision provide a genuine admissions advantage for an international student seeking a scholarship, or does the financial need level neutralize that bump?
That's a good question. Is early, you have to remind me because we don't have early decision. Is early decision the one, or is it early action where it's binding, where you have to attend? Do you know?
Yeah, early decision is the one that's binding, I think.
Binding. So if you yes, okay. So if you
Yeah,
if
an
you get
early action.
accepted with early decision, you have to attend that school. So in terms of does it help the international student? Not necessarily when it comes to scholarships. It might because you're applying early and you're getting more information, but you could also apply early action or earlier and still have the additional opportunities. So I would still recommend applying early, but if you're not 100% decided on that school, I would not recommend applying early decision because then you are making that binding choice.
Okay, thank you. And then what are the chances of receiving the out-of-state tuition waiver, and what criteria are used to select the
Mhm.
recipients? Mhm.
We're talking about the KSU one, right?
Yeah. Mhm.
Okay. So the KSU waiver, um, I don't want to say the odds are because it changes every semester. So we have a certain number of waivers that we give out. Um, and so that's important to know. Um, so it depends on every semester which students are applying and um, how many waivers that we have to give out that semester. If you meet the requirements for eligibility, which are on again this website right now. Let's see if it'll let me share. Um, Okay, here we go. So if you meet the requirements, which right now it's a 3.5, which will use your GPA that's determined using the evaluation, and you have the 1140 SAT or a 23 ACT, then you will be granted the waiver. That's how we're doing it the following year. So if you meet these requirements, I would say more than likely receive the waiver. If they're below, I can't guarantee anything. Usually not, but if you have those minimums, more than likely, yes.
Okay. How early should an international student start looking for external scholarships if they plan, for example, to begin this fall?
Begin this fall as in August or next fall, like
So,
fall.
yeah, next fall, sorry,
No, that's
2027.
okay. So fall, August 2027, agosto de 2027.
Mhm.
Okay. Um, Like outside scholarships, I would start looking 12 months in advance, so about a year. So probably this August, you should start looking. Um, a lot of schools, they won't let you apply for scholarships until you have been accepted. So for us, again, the Scholarship Universe portal that we have, you can't even access it until you have been accepted. So we have steps here that you can follow, and then I can log in because I have a KSU account. But again, you as a student would not have access to this until after you've received that acceptance. So you can go in and see that there's questions, and then it asks you all these questions, and then it'll show you the different scholarships that you might be able to receive. And we again have gone in and made sure that these are all real. You can see that these are external because right now our internal ones are closed.
Okay. And so Ani will ask a question, but honestly, I'm going to read it to you, but I don't know if you can help us. It says that he graduated from high school in Florida, and it's actually currently living in the U.S.
Hmm.
And he has his work permit, and he's asking like what steps does he need to follow to apply for financial aid?
Okay. Um, so I would have him email me.
Mhm.
That's where I would start. So that we can talk about it a little bit in more detail. If you graduated from a high school in Florida, then you would probably follow the steps of a regular first year student, which is still, we would need your transcript and then we would need your SAT or ACT scores. I mean, a 3.7 is great. You probably, I don't know if you have, it says you have like permission to work and your social security number, but I don't know if that means that you're a permanent resident or if you're still like on an L1 visa or what kind of visa. So that would depend um, on the scholarships as well. So you might not be eligible for our scholarship because those are only for F1 students. So that would be again a conversation that we could have more specifically for him. But
Okay.
it's possible. I mean, it's not crazy, unheard of.
Okay. Thank
Yeah.
you. Yeah. And then one last question. Can you tell us or give any recommendations, like what will make an application stand out for any international student?
Right. For any international student, I would say it really will depend on the school that you're applying for. So for our admissions process specifically, we're what we call not holistic. So we only look at your transcript and we look at your GP to look at your GPA, and then we look at your test scores and we look to see if you meet the minimum requirements or not. That's how we do our process. For other schools, you might need to send letters of recommendation. You might need to send an essay or two essays. You might want to send not only your, your evaluation and your transcripts, but also your resume. So I would say for an international student looking to apply at one of those schools, you want to have strong recommendation letters from your teachers and maybe somebody outside of school. So maybe someone like church. They're looking for well-rounded students. So they're looking for somebody that not is only good at math, but somebody who's good at all academics, taking higher classes, and then they're also looking at things like your extracurriculars. So, do you volunteer and help at the animal shelter? Do you have a part-time job? Do you go to church and do you help with your church? So they're looking for students that are interacting in their community or going above and beyond. So if you're looking to come for engineering, did you do any engineering projects in school that you can brag about or write a letter about or an essay? And then I would not use AI. I know that's super tempting, but your essays for colleges, they will know that you use AI and they want it to be personal. So you want to make sure that you're adding information that means something to you, not that's what's, reiterated from somebody else. So those I think would be the main things. Again, for our application, I just need to see your GPA and your test scores. So it's a little
Okay.
bit on the simpler side to apply to
Hmm.
KSU. But again, those are kind of the big things that I would consider when you're thinking about schools that need all of those documents.
Okay. Yeah, excellent. Thank you. Thank you, Catherine.
Thank you. Let me just share my screen again. So,
Hmm.
moment. Okay. Okay. También compartir con ustedes nuestros próximos eventos para que los tomen en cuenta. Estaremos teniendo una feria de universidades, en este caso, en caso de que ustedes se encuentren ya sea en México, Guatemala, Costa Rica, pueden asistir. Aquí pueden ver las fechas disponibles para la feria de universidades y así puedan participar, ¿verdad? En las redes sociales también de Education USA México, Guatemala y Costa Rica podrán encontrar más información sobre esta feria universitaria. También el 28 de julio tendremos un webinar de Studying STEM Fields in the US con Texas State University para que se puedan registrar. En las redes sociales también de Guatemala podrán ver información para que puedan registrarse en el webinar y también está el código de registro para que puedan registrarse desde ya en caso de que estén ya decididos, ¿verdad?, en querer participar y obtener más información sobre las carreras de STEM en Estados Unidos. ¿Cuáles son los siguientes pasos? Aníbal, en su caso también yo le recomendaría contactar a su Education USA Advisor en Nicaragua para que pueda tener también ese acompañamiento y orientación durante el proceso de aplicar a universidades en Estados Unidos, ya sea con Kenessaw University o alguna otra que tenga en mente, igual a todos los demás conectados que también puedan escanear el código y contactar a su Education USA Advisor más cercano y puedan comenzar este proceso, perdón, con con bastante tiempo de anticipación para que puedan realizar todo este proceso de la manera correcta y adecuada. También invitarlos a participar en los próximos eventos de Education USA que podrán observar en nuestras redes sociales. De hecho, aquí pueden encontrar un poco más de información en nuestros correos electrónicos. Yo me encuentro en San Pedro Sula, pero también tenemos oficinas en Tegucigalpa, en este caso para Honduras. En Guatemala pueden contactarse con Mariana Hernández, ahí está su correo electrónico, también nuestras redes sociales en Facebook e Instagram para que nos puedan seguir y enterarse de más eventos de Education USA. También agradecerle a Catherine. Thank you very much for sharing this information with all the students. I hope everyone takes advantage of this information, and I hope to see you guys in more Education USA webinars so you can participate. Thank you very much, Catherine, for your time today.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you, Catherine. And thank you, everyone. Have a nice weekend.